Hey, Beasley! What's that? Huh? A kid from Miss Gregory's class enters Road Elementary has a question about science? Well, come on, bring him over here. Hey man, what's your name?
Antoine.
And what's your question?
What's the history of trees?
That's a great question. We're gonna have to fit millions of years of the planet's history into one short video, but I think we can do it. Let's go to the drawing board so Beasley and I can answer your question. The roots of the history of trees begins 430 million years ago, which is a really long time ago. Here's a way to get a quick idea of just how long ago this is. If you decided to count to just 1 million, it would take you a week and 5 days. Now multiply that by 430, and you'd have to count for 705 weeks, or over 13 and a half years with no breaks to reach 430 million.
430 million years ago is referred to as the Silurian Era. Glaciers were melting and most of Earth was underwater. There weren't any dinosaurs yet, mainly fish and trilobites. However, over a long period of time, plants began to grow up on rocky coasts out of the water. These plants were extremely small, only a few centimeters tall, and very reedy looking. Without much competition for space, the first plants soon thrived and colonized the land.
This transitions into the Devonian Era, which occurred 360 million years ago. It is in this time that the first true tree was born, called Watieza. During this time, the land was covered in huge forests with two main types of trees: lycopods, which are related to mosses and grew in swamps, and gymnosperms, which are still very common today. Gymnosperms took over because of one advantage that also arose during this time: the seed. Seeds made it so trees and plants could be spread anywhere on land. Before seeds, plants had to stick very close to water and had to remain very close together in order to make more plants. Once seeds allowed plants and trees to spread all over the land, these huge numbers of trees could remove CO2 from the atmosphere and put O2 into the air, which means that animals became able to survive out of the water. Around the time of the arrival of the dinosaurs, or 230 million years ago, gymnosperms and ferns dominated the landscape. Along with the dinosaurs came the appearance of angiosperms, or flowering trees, which are still seen today in apple, oak, and maple trees. Angiosperms appeared 100 million years ago and were very successful thanks to the appearance of insects such as bees. The angiosperms were able to make a friendship with these insects to spread pollen from their flowers. This friendship is called a mutualistic relationship and means that between the two species, both are being positively affected. The insects usually acquired some kind of food from the plant, and all of the work of the plant of spreading pollen is done by the insects. Angiosperms developed into many different types of species depending on the different insects they are able to form mutualistic relationships with. This is called coevolution, when the development of one species influences the other. In this case, the insects and the flowering trees evolving in ways up through time that helped each other. All the trees seen today are distantly related to the first gymno or angiosperms of millions of years ago. Over the course of hundreds of thousands of years, the trees that were best made for their environments beat the less successful species out of the environment. The ones that survive are most likely a very good fit for their environment. Now that's the history of all trees, but how do you tell the history of just one tree? Is it possible? It actually is. There's a whole branch of study called Dendrochronology dedicated to the studies of a tree's rings to determine its age and the conditions it's lived through. Come to the drawing board one more time and I'll show you. If you've ever seen the cross-section of a tree, you know that there are rings. You've also probably heard that counting the rings gives you an estimate of the tree's age. But do you know why you can do this? The answer is found in our seasons. Trees rapidly grow a ring in springtime and then grow a harder layer in the summer, but not as much growth occurs in the fall and winter. This means that each time a tree lives through the 4 seasons, which is 1 year's time, it grows one set of a hard and soft ring. This means for each year, a tree grows 1 ring set. But that's not all one can determine based on the tree rings. Based on the width of the rings, you can tell the conditions for that year. For example, the wider the ring, the more favorable the conditions probably were for that year, most likely a year of lots of sun and rain. By contrast, a skinnier ring signals poor growing conditions, such as a year of drought. Well, I think that about wraps it all up. That's it from Beasley and I. I hope that we gave a good answer to your question. Bye!